stands for Solution Enterprise-Wide Procurement and is a government-wide acquisition contract. So SEWP is a multiple award suite of contracts. We have over 141 SEWP contract holders, of which 108 are small businesses. We actually have over 10,000 industry providers on contract and have an annual obligated value of over $10 billion. And what that means is the government in fiscal year 22 spent $10.5 billion on IT acquisitions through the SEWP contract. Being a government-wide acquisition contract means that all federal agencies are able to use the SEWP contract. To date, all federal agencies have used the SEWP contract. And last year, we had 85 federal agencies procure through the SEWP contract. We received orders from over 400 sub-agencies and from over 1,300 federal sites. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how widespread the usage is of the SEWP contract. The vehicle is for the contract vehicle is for information and communication technology and audiovisual solutions. We'll go over the full scope of the contract in an upcoming slide. And the program management office is here to provide support and information throughout the acquisition process. So some of the things that are good about the SEWP contract is all terms and conditions have been pre-negotiated. And as you will see, this greatly accelerates adding hardware, software, and services to a SEWP V contract holder's contract. Additionally, SEWP ensures that the government receives a fair and competitive offer through competition at the task order level. So what can be procured through the SEWP contract? Unlike other government contracts, SEWP is not a predetermined set of items that the government can procure. The SEWP contract is based off of a scope of technologies, and how that works is if what the government wants to procure is within the scope within scope of the SEWP contract, it can be added to the contract within 1 business day. So let's look at what is within scope. Information technology and networking. So here is the bread and butter of the contract. We're talking about all of your computer hardware, desktop computers, laptops, servers, tablets, network appliances, routers, modems, your voice over IP products, your storage, your security appliances. Any type of COTS or boxed software is within scope, as well as virtualization and cloud computing, anything as a service or software as a service as well. Mobility and communications, we're looking at things that allow 2 people to talk to one another. So that might be cell phones, 2-way radios, walkie-talkies, satellite phones, things of that nature, as well as the accompanying technology. That would be your antennas, your subscription services, or monthly access fees. Supporting technologies would be scanners, printers, copiers, shredders, all of the peripherals that come along or are needed with the IT equipment you may be procuring. Sensors and health IT. When we talk about health IT, think about when you go into a hospital and you see the medical carts. Everything on that cart would fall within scope of our contract. Sensors might be a door sensor, a wireless access point, anything that's taking a signal and sending it back somewhere, or capturing information and sending it back somewhere. AV conferencing. So let's look at your conference rooms. All of the audiovisual equipment within that room may be a screen, could be microphones, speakers, even the conference room table. If it has or allows for IP to plug into it, it would fall within scope. Pairs do not fall within scope. It does not matter if it has speakers built into it or IT can plug into it. It would not be allowed on the contract. Services would be maintenance, warranties like Cisco, SmartNet, or Citrix software assurance, product-based training, and product-based engineering services. So imagine Microsoft SharePoint, and a federal agency already has it, and they would like to hire someone to come in and do some customization to that software. That would be allowed or be within scope of our contract. What would not be within scope is hiring a company to come in and develop a mobile app for you from scratch. SEWP PM customer support. So the NASA SEWP Program Management Office performs many roles in support of government acquisition staff. We manage SEWP contracts. We mediate actions between government and industry. We facilitate the acquisition process, recommend best approaches to acquisition issues, and inform the government customer on both overall contract use and specific policy-related aspects of their acquisition. So when we look at the SEWP Program Management Office, we have internal and external facing departments. Externally, we have the customer service team. We have the FAST team that supports the government customer. We have the CHARM team that supports the contract holders. And we have the industry team that supports our industry providers. Our internal facing departments would be our finance, technical, and communications team. The SEWP PMO industry support. The NASA SEWP Program Management Office performs many roles in support of industry. So from an industry standpoint, we normally use a three-prong approach. We look to educate, advise, and assist. So we educate through these types of tech talks that we do in various public forums and settings. We also conduct private trainings with individual companies, and we attend conferences and expos, again, providing information on the SEWP contract. We advise by providing guidance on how SEWP works, and we recommend best-in-class activities and actions. And finally, we assist by providing support on unique issues or acquisitions. A good example of that is we had a company attempting to put a product on SEWP, on a SEWP contract, and was twice denied. The industry relations team assisted the company to better explain what their product was and how it worked. This eventually led to a successful contract with the DoD agency. So in addition, we also oversee and monitor contract holder relations. We mediate actions between government and industry. We support, track, and verify supply chain relationships, and we do this through an approved reseller program we have. We expedite addition of current and emerging technologies based on customer requirements. We monitor and inform on acquisition policies and best practices. And finally, we manage industry interaction in support of all federal agencies. One of the options that the government has when using our contract is creating a catalog. A catalog, a SEWP catalog, enables the government to create an e-commerce-like page within the SEWP contract where they can expedite procurements. So we call it the SEWP Marketplace. We have a contract line items made available for review, purchase, or inclusion, and requests for quotes based on agency specifications. Dynamic catalogs, which is a catalog by request, not a request by catalog. And what we mean by that is some contracts, as I mentioned at the beginning, you have a list of items, you pick through what you want, you click on it and buy it. SEWP is not that way. SEWP, it's not about what is on contract, it's about is what you offer within scope. And that is the key to our contract. If what you offer is within scope and the government wants it, they can put out a request to our contract holders, and then the contract holder can add the item to their contract, and it takes 1 business day to have it added to their contract. Static catalog, which is contract level items and pricing in support of agency requirements. There's strategically sourced items and select to order functionality or consolidated bundling options. So here we're going to actually look at the process of the government putting out a request through the SEWP contract and kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. So the first thing that happens is the government decides they have a need, right, or a want of some sort of IT or AV solution. Once that happens, the government's going to go ahead and select the type of solicitation they want to submit or release through the SEWP portal. So they're either going to select a request for quote, a request for information, a market research request, or a request for agency catalog. From there, they're going to select from one of the 2 groups of contract holders, and once they've selected between the 2 groups, they're going to select either all the contract holders within the group or one of the social economic subgroups of contract holders. From there, the contract holders will team with industry providers, and that's where you all come into play. An industry provider is essentially a subcontractor. They're normally an OEM, a manufacturer, a solution provider. Providers and items are added to contract within 1 business day via technology refresh. A provider can only be added to a contract by a SEWP contract holder. Neither the government nor the SEWP Program Management Office can add a provider without the request first coming from a contract holder. From there, the contract holders are going to submit their quote using the SEWP online toolset. So again, only SEWP contract holders can reply to solicitations released through the SEWP contract. From there, once the SEWP Program Management Office receives all the solicitation responses, a verification report is created and supplied to the procuring officer. From there, the purchasing officer is going to select the winning response based on best value. Again, the SEWP Program Management Office does not get involved in the decision-making process for an award. It is strictly determined by the issuing procuring officer. SEWP simply processes the order. They receive the purchase order from the government and turn it around to the awarded contract holder. The SEWP PMO issues a SEWP tracking number within 1 business day to the winning contract holder. The SEWP tracking number is essentially the order. From there, the winning contract holder fulfills the government purchase order based on order requirements. Finally, the SEWP Program Management Office tracks the order through delivery. And we actually have a spot on our website, which I'll show you in a few minutes, where you can see how contract holders' performance is being tracked. Here we just give you an idea of how the growth has occurred for the SEWP V contract. SEWP V, and we call it SEWP V because we're in the 5th iteration. SEWP V started May 1st, 2015, and is a 5-year contract with a 5-year option. We did pick up the option years, and SEWP V runs through April 30th, 2025. And there will be a SEWP VI add-on. So what makes SEWP so hot? Well, a variety of things. When the government decides to make a procurement, they have lots of options as to how they want to achieve that procurement. There are a variety of contracts out there that they can leverage. SEWP is one of the options. The government is not mandated to use us. But some of the reasons that we found that the government keeps coming back to us and has made us the largest IT GWAC within the government is, one is speed. The ability to add products and services and process orders in one business day is a big thing. This means that when the government finds that they have a need or an urgency, or something bright, shiny, and new comes out and they would like to procure it, they know that by coming through our contract, they can gain access to these new technologies or new items or needs very quickly. Some government contracts could take over 6 months to add new items to. Our customer service is a gold standard, and it's the central focus of all SEWP employees and all SEWP staff. When you call our customer service number, you get a live person during business hours. It's not a press 1 for this or press 2 for that. A live person picks up the phone and assists you. If you send an email to our help@sewp.nasa.gov, you get a response within 24 hours, 1 business day. Competitive prices. Product prices are consistently low due to contract structure and internal competition. Every solicitation put out on or through SEWP is competed against some group of our contract holders, and that's important to remember. So there's always competition. Enterprise-wide support. We have agency-specific catalogs, customizable reports, so the government agencies can go into the SEWP site, log in, and build customized reports pulling from 25 to 30 different data points. We also have FAST, which is an agency-focused consultation department within SEWP that works specifically with the federal government customer to help educate and assist them on using the SEWP contract. Tracking and communication, the information flow to government and industry throughout the acquisition and fulfillment process. We are a very relationship-driven contract. We communicate very closely with our industry providers, our contract holders, and our government customers to ensure that the government knows what they're getting and understands the way the processes work. And finally, supply chain risk management. We have processes in place to reduce risk and support policy-based decisions. We take the supply chain risk management, or SCRM, very seriously and do everything in our power to ensure that when the government procures through our contract, they're buying non-fraudulent products from our providers and contract holders. So some of the industry initiatives and concerns include, again, supply chain risk management. We have an approved reseller program in place, and ISO 2002-43, which is a standard focused on risk from counterfeit and tainting. We adhere to the 889 rule, prohibition on contracting with entities using certain telecommunications and video surveillance services or equipment that is incorporated at the contract holder level. Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC. Monitoring and updating as needed. Accessibility Conformance Report, or ACR. This speeds up the acquisition process and is formally 508 documentation. And finally, industry outreach through industry webinars. So what is industry's exact role? Well, industry's role is to add products and services to existing contracts. Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. So a provider is a company that has products and or services on one or more SEWP V contract. Currently, we have, actually it's closer to 10,000 SEWP providers, and we add more than 20 providers a week. So a provider is someone that offers IT products and services. Their role is to work with one or more prime contract holders to request product addition. So we have 141 SEWP contract holders, and when we're done the slides, we're going to go out to the website. I'm going to show you where this information is. We recommend working with multiple SEWP contract holders. And again, I'll explain that in a little more detail when I can show you on the website. The business case is negotiated between the prime and the provider. So you set the pricing and negotiate the business process with the prime contract holders. The SEWP Program Management Office actually does not get involved in that. The prime contract holder must first request acceptance of the provider. SEWP checks to make sure the products or offerings are within scope. After a provider is accepted, all primes may add products from the provider, and products added through technology refreshment process. And the provider may have a central POC to review contract holder relationships. So provider relationship types, and this is part of our supply chain risk management tool. A contract holder can submit to the SEWP Program Management Office to add a provider to their contract. Once they do that, any of the contract holders can click and add the provider to their contract. Then a contract holder can state to the SEWP PMO that they have one of these three approved relationships. The SEWP PMO then validates that relationship with the confirmed POC for that provider. The relationships are as follows. An approved reseller. SEWP uses the term approved to indicate that the contract holder is known by the specified industry provider and considers the purchase of their products by the designated contract holder to be legitimate. Essentially, what that is saying is that that industry provider is okay with that contract holder buying and selling whatever it is they offer, either direct from them or through their approved distribution channel to the government, and that those procurements are considered to be legitimate. An approved reseller would be approved to sell a company's entire catalog or offerings. A subset would be approved to sell a specific item or product line, and a one-off would be on a per agency or per opportunity basis. One additional thing to note is that when the government puts out an opportunity through our contract, they can actually state only let an approved reseller reply. Teaming with existing primes. So one of the big questions or frequent questions we get is, why would a contract holder want to team with me, an industry provider? Well, three of the main reasons are to increase access to products and services or solutions. A provider can normally extend the offerings of a contract holder. While all of our contract holders adhere to the same scope of technology, they don't always hold the proper authorizations or have the internal bench of people to deliver everything the government wants. So they'll partner with other companies to extend those offerings. Increase locality presence. Well, let's say the contract holder's in Seattle, Washington, and the opportunity they're bidding on is in Washington, D.C., and it requires on-site support. Well, with that contract holder in Washington State teaming with a partner in Washington, D.C., they now have a local presence. Additionally, they can provide access to a specific customer or agency. Again, when a contract holder partners with an industry provider, it's essentially extending all aspects of their business. Again, it's important to remember that the teaming partner does not have a SEWP contract and they do not have access to SEWP opportunities to review them, see them, or search for them. That only a SEWP contract holder can do that. All orders remain between the government and the contract holder. And finally, the contract holder is ultimately responsible for all government interaction. Approved support service contractors may utilize a SEWP contract as part of their government contract. So essentially, if there's a company out there and they receive a contract from a government agency to procure on their behalf, they can then leverage the SEWP contract on behalf of that federal agency or federal department. Again, competing for a SEWP prime contract, SEWP V contracts are 5 years with a 5-year option. They run through April 30th, 2025. We are now in the initial process of SEWP VI, the discovery phase of it. We are working on gathering information to put out a solicitation. SEWP VI will be awarded and should go into effect May 1st, 2025. Information can be found under the SEWP VI tab on our website. To become a SEWP V contract holder at this point, the option would be to go through a novation process or essentially purchase one of our existing SEWP contract holders. And that falls under FAR 42.12. So now we're going to go ahead and go out to the SEWP website. Okay. So here we have the SEWP website. Everything I'm going to show you on here is public facing. It does not require a login. The login here and the SEWP login here is for .gov and .mil email addresses only. So the first thing you're going to find on our website, if you're on the home page, is event hot topics. Under here, you can find all the places that we're going to be or events we may be putting on, such as the one today. We do have an FAQ section you can go into. It's a knowledge base that you can type your questions and it'll search a database of previously asked questions with replies. Here under SEWP V contract information, you can find all of the FARs as they pertain to the SEWP V contract. We have training videos as well. This is a great place to go. Very short videos, but what they give you is information from different views of the website, of the SEWP tool. So you may be able to see information as if you were the government side, so the SEWP web tools, the quote request tool, and just a variety of different training tools and videos that I recommend everybody watching when they have a few minutes. We do have our help hotline up here as well as a help email. We also have a live chat that you can do. If you come under contract holders by group, here we list out all of our 141 SEWP contract holders. As I was mentioning earlier, when the government puts out an opportunity through our contract, the first thing they're going to do is select from either Group A or Group B, C, D. And the difference is the NAICS codes, 334111 and 541519. Group A is manufacturing, or NAICS code 334111 is a manufacturing code, whereas 541519 is all other IT. When the government decides to put out an opportunity, they have to select between the two groups. You cannot put a solicitation out to both groups. Once you select a group, so let's say you select A, you can select all the contract holders in Group A, or you can select one of the social breakdowns. So if I select Group A, woman-owned small business, these are the only 8 contract holders that fall into that grouping. That means those are the only 8 contract holders that can actually see the opportunity and reply to it. So with that in mind, we always recommend reaching out to 2 to 3 contract holders in each of these social economic groups and building relationships. That way you're covered regardless of which choice the government makes when putting out their opportunity. I will say over 81% of the business that comes through our contract comes through some form of a small business. So that's roughly $8.1 billion annually through our contract for small businesses. Now, we make it very easy for you to reach out to the contract holders. You can click on any one of them, and we provide you with their contact information, their program and deputy program manager's name, email, and phone number. The next part is, as I mentioned, we do have a program performance page where we list out the contract holders and their performance. This is not a past performance report, but a current performance rating. Our goal is for everyone to be listed as excellent. Anything that's stated as neutral is not a negative. It just means there hasn't been enough transactions to be rated. When it comes to delivery, deliveries are only rated on physical deliveries, not period of performance delivery. But you can scroll through here and see where different companies are or contract holders and how they're rated. For the most part, everyone is excellent. Finally, if you come under SEWP Tools and Provider Lookup, this is where we have all the providers that have a minimum of one item on contract. You can look up those companies by name. So for instance, we can type in F5. Let's see here. So we can come down here to, and we can just put F5 right here. And what you see is we provide you with their address, their home base address, all of the associated names with F5. So had you put in that search box any of these names, it would have pulled up the following information. And here we provide you with every contract holder that has F5 on contract. We give you the contract group they're in, the contract holder's name, whether or not they're an approved or subset reseller, and then the listing of products they have on contract. And again, this is public facing. And this tool has a lot of uses. If you're a provider of services for a specific technology, you may want to come in here. So let's say you provide services for F5. You may want to come in here and see which contract holders are selling F5, and then reach out to them to offer the services that you offer for those products. So with that wraps up this portion of the website. The next thing I'm going to show is our providers only page. And this is a page that a provider can go to manage the contract holders they have listed as approved or subset. This is a site we're building out for our industry providers, and new features will be added later this year. But here they can come in, and any contract holder that's listed as an approved or subset reseller, they can actually come in here and view the relationship. They can modify it, or they can remove it. It also gives them an opportunity to see which contract holders have submitted for a one-off, as well as the one-off information. That wraps up the tour of the website and the prop and concludes the slide presentation. We can move on to questions now.
Thank you, Mark. That was very thorough.
Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate that. And it was actually the first time I've seen behind the scenes there. So thank you for that, for that demo. Sometimes it just makes it easier to see somebody walking you through it.
It does, yes. Sometimes, depending on the internet connection, now it's gotten better, but we used to have to use still slides for the website. Right. You know, there's so much information on the website. It's a lot to take in, And I always recommend just take your time and search through it. And if you don't know, just shoot an email to help@SEWP.nasa.gov. You know, it's an easy way to get information.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So we do have a few questions. Some
Sure.
you may have already addressed in the presentation. I'm just going to scroll all the way back up in the chat box. First one is there a way to see when a federal government project is using the NASA SEWP contract?
Not on a federal site or on our site. I know there are third-party companies out there that list government acquisitions or, you know, and how they're being procured, but SEWP for itself is a closed site in the sense that the opportunities released through our contract can only be seen by those contract holders.
Okay, thank you.
Let me add one other thing. Being a very relationship-driven contract, you know, a provider that is working with a contract holder should be able to reach out to their contract holder partners and talk with them and have them provide them with information, status updates on opportunities that maybe they've been working on together. That relationship should be very fluid. And if they feel they're not getting the response that they want, then they should consider working with some of the other contract holders that we do have.
Okay, good tip. Next question. Do you have any information on the small business size standards for NASA SEWP?
So we do not set the standards. When a company submits a response to become a SEWP contract holder, they check a box letting us know what their size standard is, and we validate it using sam.gov. That is the tool that we use. Whatever the size certification is there, those are what we're adhering to.
Okay. Okay, this question is from Cara, and she says, great information, by the way. And she says, we have a client that wants to bid on the SEWP 6.
Yes.
And if the RFP is going out this year, do you know the timeline for the release of the RFP?
So let's see here. Whoops. Sorry about that. Where'd my shares go? All right. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. I'm trying to pull up the share. Let's see. Okay. So if you go to our website, sorry about this. There we go. We have a SEWP 6 tab. And the only thing I can say at this point is this is where information is going to be as it becomes available. We have our second reverse industry day, which the second one will be next Monday in San Diego. The first one was in Virginia. And these are for us to gather information on the writing of the SEWP 6 solicitation. From what I understand, an RFI will go out first and will be out for some period of time, followed by a shorter period of time for an RFQ. I think, you know, within the next 12 to 18 months, everything should come out. That at this point, that I know the solicitation has not even been written, so that's all I know at this point. I would just say keep an eye on this tab. This is where information is going to be as it becomes available.
Okay, great. And there was a second part to that question. Does a reseller have to offer everything listed in the RFP to be eligible? Okay,
great question. So again, since SEWP 6 has not been written, I cannot speak to what the requirements will be. What I can say is this. Every SEWP iteration has built off of the previous year's iteration. SEWP 5 required bidders to provide information and pricing on certain technologies. And when the awards were made, they were required to instantly have certain items on contract. And to the best of my knowledge, they were certain desktop laptop and I think server configurations on their contract. When SEWP when the SEWP PMO made awards for SEWP V, I hate to use the word one-trick pony, but there were really no one-trick ponies receiving an award, meaning they really try to find companies that can provide as much of the scope as possible. That way the government has the best opportunity for competition. As you saw, when you looked at the contract holders, in Group A woman-owned, there's only 8. If all of a sudden those contract holders could only provide one type of technology, let's say they only provided security, that makes it even less contract holders available in Group A to reply, let's say, to an opportunity for desktops. So, you know, the wider the girth is or scope is that you as a company can offer, the better chances you have. Now, what I have seen in the past is, let's say you have a company that's very strong in software or in, you know, software, hardware, or services, but not all. They'll partner with another company and create a LLC or a sub company or joint venture, and then go after a SEWP contract.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps.
All right, hopefully. Thanks. Next question. How do we ascertain who is the SEWP administrator for a particular manufacturer?
If I understand the question correctly, I think the person is asking me, let's take Cisco as an example. Everyone knows who Cisco networking is. I think they're asking who at Cisco would be responsible for SEWP. It doesn't really work that way. While we have a primary point of contact, that's not always the contact that companies are going to use. Normally, manufacturers have sales reps and account managers spread out all across the country in different various territories assigned to different businesses. You would actually want to check with the specific manufacturer to see who your account rep would be and work that way backwards, right? So if you're selling to the Navy, you may want to see who the Cisco rep is for Navy, along with who your individual Cisco rep is, and work that way.
Okay, thank you. There's a question here. Let's see. How do we have a look at the SEWP V RFP posted on the site?
So there's a little bit of information here. For instance, you can get the SEWP scope here. You can download it. There's also, let's see. I always recommend Googling it. We have parts of it here on our website under the FARS SEWP contract information. We lay out some stuff here. But for the full solicitation, I would go out to the internet and look on Google for it, or a search engine.
Okay, great. Good old Google.
Yeah.
And is TAA compliance required for SEWP?
Great question. So we do not, and I mean the SEWP PMO, do not require an item to be TAA approved to be on our contract. We don't set those types of guidelines. It is up to each ordering agency or procurement office to make that determination of what they can and cannot purchase. But I will go ahead and show you this. Give me 1 second. Provider lookup. When a contract holder submits items to be added to contract, they create a CLIN for it, the manufacturer part number, a description, and here they're going to list out what the product is, right? Is there a SCRM in place, Energy Start, TAA, and EP? The corresponding side to that is when the government creates their request through our portal, they're going to check which boxes they require a product to meet in order for a contract holder to bid it. So that contract or that procuring officer is going to decide, does this requirement need to be PAA or EP, Energy Star, SCRM? Then what happens is when a contract holder bids, their solicitation, that their quote is received by the SEWP PMO, we create that verification report, and it lists out on that report which replies meet the requirements the government had set forth and which do not.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. And I think that's all the questions we have today. So
Okay, great.
thank our presenter, Marc Wishnow, and I would like to thank everybody for participating today and asking great questions. I will be sending out the presentation in a few minutes, and I'll also send a link, and I posted a link in the chat box as well for our YouTube channel where you can watch the recording of this. That'll probably be available later this afternoon. So thank you again, everybody. Thanks again to Marc, and we'll see you at a future Apex webinar. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you again for having us. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to message help@sewp.nasa.gov, and they'll route your question to the proper department.
Thank you, Marc.
You're welcome. Have a great day.